They're like,
Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of DESIGNathon. This week, we have one of my favorite subjects and one of my favorite trios. Hopefully, our third party will get here soon. Um, we have an amazing show set up to speak to you about voice AI, from Alexa to IVR to all the things in between. We will try and cover it all and try and get you in a good space to decide whether or not this area is for you. Meantime, I'd like to introduce my absolutely exceptionally stunning co-host, Manaz. Hi, Manaz. How's everything going?
thanks, Anne. Hi, Anne. Everything's fine. Yeah, happy to be here, and I'm so exciting for this topic. I'm also like wondering if I can join this area maybe. So, hi everyone. I'm Manaz. I'm a product designer. I'm also Designathon co-host, and happy to have our guests today. Amazing guest. I would like to ask them to introduce themselves. Bill, would you like to start?
Sure. My name is Bill McLean. Online, I'm known as Phone Bill. So if you see any of my content on socials, you'll see it under that moniker. I started in technology before some of you were born, and been doing it for close to 40 years. And I've owned my own company, started about 30 years ago, started a second company about 15 years ago, and started a voice AI company about 4 years ago. Upon AI, co-founder Upon AI. I do have a partner, Jody Gonzalez. And so, yeah, here we are.
Thanks, Bill. Cameron?
Yeah, my name is Cameron O'Brien, and I lead technology for founders and executives. Before tech, I actually worked in airport security. I was in behavioral recognition, and I was standing next to bags that might be bombs, waiting for the K9 squad to identify. And that experience really taught me that some calls don't give you a second chance, and that's the instinct that I bring to AI now. And I built voice agents that have handled over tens of thousands of calls a day. But honestly, the most interesting work isn't building them, it's the judgment calls. When should the agent hand off to a human? What happens when it fails? And what should never go to a machine in the first place? And that's what I really love talking about. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh, look at the perfect time.
Amazing. Oh, sorry. Oops.
Hi, Mike.
Okay.
You like that for timing?
Amazing.
Perfect.
We're in the middle. Well, we're actually waiting on you. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Hi,
So
good morning.
excited.
Yeah,
Right
my
on
name's
time.
Michael Oath. I ran a VoIP company for about 15 years, and for the last 3 or so years, I've been on the voice AI side of things. So how AI can integrate with VoIP and SIP and telephony and solve problems and do things for company.
Nice. That's the part that piece of the work is the part I think a lot of people don't even know exists. So we're going to dive into that. But first, I like to start the first question with kind of just level setting everyone. We have a variety of different types of listeners, so I just kind of like to get everybody on the same page. So for clarity, what does voice AI actually mean, and how is it different from Siri to Alexa to IVR to agents? If Bill, you want to take that, like do a quick, like sixth grade level version of that?
Sure. I think the key is that while it also listens, like Alexa does and Siri, it understands and can be hopefully programmed to take action based on what it's hearing and what it's understanding. So when it hears a command or a request, it knows how to act upon that request at a higher level than an Alexa or Siri, which are typically just call mom, or whatever. It's very elementary instructions that it understands.
Cameron or Mike, do you want to add your 2 cents to what people need to know to understand the basics between the different styles and types of voice AI?
Yeah, the way I think about it is kind of speech recognition versus conversation. So traditional IVRs, uh, just they're looking for specific words. Siri, Alexa, play music. What time is it? They're looking for specific words and phrases, and that's speech recognition. And then they have programs written directly for those things, but that's it. Alexa now has some conversation abilities. Where voice AI is, there's real intelligence back there. There's a LLM. There's OpenAI. There's Claude back there, and it can have an actual conversation and understands what you're saying, understands the intent, and much like interacting with it with text, you can have more of a conversation as opposed to just speech recognition.
Do you want to add to that, Cameron?
Yeah, of course. It's interesting. I think there's a difference between what voice AI actually is and what the perception of voice AI is. And I think because of the monolith and behemoth startups that we have in our midst that are focusing specifically on voice on telephony, I think when you ask the average person if they do know what voice AI is, I think they lean towards it's on the phone. And I think that that's the biggest thing that we're seeing now, because that's not exactly what it is, but the term has been kind of put on that in today's day and age. And I think that it's just an opportunity for us to have the same kind of conversations that you're having with ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini on the phone instead, specifically for a specific use case that a business wants to funnel you through. And it's a lot more elegant than an IVR would be. But I think that if we're looking at it from a very, very simple high-level overview, that's what I would lean towards.
Okay. Yeah, that I wanted to get simple groundwork laid out. There's so many questions I want to ask you from my personal experience building these things at enterprise, and I have to reel myself in and stick to what the audience needs. So why do you think voice AI is having a major moment generally right now?
Money.
Ooh, Bill, juicy. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean,
funny. I was going to agree with Bill there.
It's nothing
So
new.
it's not
right?
generative. You don't think it's the generative stuff. You think
Well,
it's
partially, but what it's done is because of the technology over the last 5 years, it's not AI voice is not new, right? It's just become affordable for the enterprise, for the SMB, and the quality of the LLMs and the voice and the text to speech and all that stuff has become more affordable. It's become faster, higher quality, and so it's opened up the market to a big old swath of companies that have been introduced due to the popularity of ChatGPT. I mean, so when people say, do you understand what AI voice is? There may be a good ChatGPT prompter, and they're going to say, yeah, sure. So it's not a high bar to introduce voice AI to them because they feel like they already know AI because of prompting.
Yeah, I get recruited quite a bit. And sorry, Mike, sorry, Cameron, it just real quick. It seems to be the majority of the work is IVR to AI conversions. Like there's so much work in that space. So go ahead, Karen. I just wanted to throw that out there because I think I'm sure there's other hiring around voice, but I think that's the big majority of where the jobs are right now. And I think that's important for people to understand. But Cameron, go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Of course. Yeah. And I think that both of you made some great points there. And I think if we're looking at why voice AI is so prevalent right now, I would say money is a big factor, and specifically the accessibility of the technology when it comes to building it or developing it, right? You have large organizations that are able to host their own GPUs with their own open source models running on it in some proprietary fashion. And they're able to take that to VCs, and VCs' eyes light up when they hear voice and AI in the same sentence. So suddenly all this money comes pouring in. And because of that money, because of that opportunity, they're able to influence the market perception in a way that we wouldn't be able to previously. And before it was, as these brilliant guys are saying, it's the voice AI was more inside of the technology. It was like, Siri and that sort of thing at the beginning, at the outset, but they wanted to keep that technology really secret. It was really amazing and no one wanted to talk about it. But now it's become in that way open source and available that even if you wanted to, you could buy a graphics card and run a decent open voice AI model at home. So now we're in this position where if you're smart enough, you have a big enough team and you're able to do this, then you're able to get money coming in, and then they're kind of pushing it on the perception. I mean, they have actors from The Office, supporting the kind of the bland kind of moniker of voice AI. So I think that Bill's hit the nail on the head. Because of the kind of excitement around AI, and because there's a lot of money wanting to make more money, I think it's really pushing what voice AI is today to the forefront.
Yeah, I agree with all that, and like the question, like why now versus 5 years ago. I don't know if everyone knows how voice AI works. I mean, you're still for the most part interacting with the large language model in text. So when you speak, what time is my appointment tomorrow? That audio gets turned in. So it goes speech to text. That audio gets turned into text. That text gets fed into the LLM. The LLM responds, your appointment is at 3 p.m. tomorrow, as a block of text. That text now has to go from text to speech and gets turned into some sort of voice and then get fed back. That technology, text to speech and speech to text, has gotten much better, much cheaper, much faster. The LLMs every 6 months get unbelievably smarter and better and more conversational. So it's kind of this convergence of things being fast enough and cheap enough and smart enough that it all comes together and it all works as one cohesive unit.
What do you guys think of the push to go 100% generative with these builds? I'm a hybrid builder. So, I mean, normally I spend a lot of my days in Miro's creating like architecture diagrams and building things from soup to nuts, and we tap in the LLM surgically, right? Like there's this push for 100% generative conversations, and it's funny because I get recruited often, I get to see what different companies are doing, and the push for 100% generative seems short-sighted to me, and also a little bit wasteful, and a lot of like shiny new thing syndrome. And I'm curious, do you still feel that building with deterministically with the addition of LLMs is still the way to go, or are you on the team of, oh no, we should be fully generative now?
Yeah. I mean, we'll probably talk about at some point like what AI is good at and what it's not.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
But I don't think it's good at everything today. So I think the smart move is to just have it do the pieces that it's good at today. Right. So that's my short answer to your question is no, I would not do generative all around.
Why do you think there's a push for that though? Do you think it's like shiny items? Yeah.
I think it's opportunity cost.
What do you mean?
Yeah. I think because AI is capable of so much, there's almost this veil over what it actually can do, but it can do a lot, right? But until you breach those limits yourself, you don't really know what they are. And I think that when it comes to perhaps the people that are making decisions in businesses, the leaders, that the opportunity cost of not letting AI essentially run amok, it's too high. So I think in a safe environment, you can let generative AI run the show. But I think the leaders that I'm talking to are seeing a potential market downturn in 2027. So they're looking to bring AI in as fast as possible and to do as much as possible as a way to hopefully survive the next couple of years.
It's interesting because Cameron and I know each other, and I know that he does a lot in the enterprise environment, and I don't. I do more in the SMB. And while it might be a great idea to have voice AI take over a large swath of tasks, we typically preach let's crawl and then walk and then run. And because the problem is they don't know, most people don't know what they don't know with regards to the capabilities. And so there's this piece that over the last 4 years that we've really underestimated, my partner and I, is the educational time. The time that it takes to explain to an end user, whether they're enterprise or small business, what exactly can AI do in the voice arena. And so that's taken a lot longer than we thought, and to educate these people. And because all of the shiny objects and all of the updates that we, the three of us or the five of us, struggle to keep up with on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, like here's something new, here's something new. So can you imagine? And we're supposedly the experts, right? And so I didn't just call myself that. I'm sorry. But the idea is that, like, the everyday business owner, they're watching the news, they're reading posts, and it's just overwhelming some days, some weeks.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Bill. And the analogy of crawling before you walk and walking before you run is so powerful, because so many times I've gone into an organization and they want AI, or they want voice AI, or they want some sort of fancy new technology stack. But the truth is their business doesn't even have the fundamentals to be ready for AI, that everything's a mess. Nothing's written down. It lives in people's heads. And how are you going to translate that into what an AI has to know to do on the phone? So I think you're absolutely right. I think that there's a balance between the excitement of we need to get this now and the are you ready for it?
Interesting.
So I wanted to ask this question. Why are I say that like big companies like Apple are not like even working on Siri to update it. Even like the last update that they get out, it wasn't that good. Like it wasn't like even an impressive change on Siri reactions and answers. So I think it goes back to the laws that each states have in the US in about voice. And how do you think like these laws are affecting that this technology getting like much more accessible and more common in companies to use
I mean, it's a great question. The one thing I was going to say, just to kind of frame it from my perspective, is I think that specifically what's happening at Apple is that you have people in charge of money, or people that are really good at working with money and making money grow, in charge of technology decisions. And when you have that happen, you streamline and reduce rather than innovate.
Nobody wants to be Betamax. Everybody wants to be VHS. So I knew Michael would laugh at that. It's a little bit of fear. The bigger the company, the bigger the money, the bigger the mistake, possibly. And so what I'm seeing, at least what my observations are, is that they may be holding back a little bit. And let's let these smaller and mid-sized companies and real small micro companies really lead the way and sort of find out which path to go is VHS and which path is Betamax.
Yeah, it's a great reference. And I think that the thing that I'm seeing, like if you look at Apple, for example, they, the design team and the technical team asked for more money to buy their own GPUs so that they could run their own AI. And that request was denied by the finance team. And they essentially told them, use what you have more efficiently, which is great. But then when you look at all the companies that are leading in the AI space, they all have their own hardware. So I think that Apple has made an interesting choice. If we're looking back to the leadership of Apple, until recently, it's been a financial person that's been really good at growing the money of the company, but not necessarily a design innovator. So that more in line with the founder. And I would say that when you're looking at that, then you're making those financial decisions. Then you're going to not really necessarily understand the technology at the level that's needed to. That if you have your own hardware, you have control over what it can and cannot do. And Siri, if you look at it from an internal technology perspective, if we look at like parameters, right? The best models in the world have lots of parameters, and the smaller parameters you go, you can do really efficient tasks designed well with smaller parameters. But if you're trying to have Siri function well with really small amount of parameters, it sounds really dumb. So that's kind of, I think, what's happening with Apple. And now they're partnering with these larger organizations that do have their own hardware to attempt to make it better. But I think there's just a missing there, that when companies were really taking on AI, voice AI, and really taking the hardware internally and making it really good and working on it, I think that other companies were just focused on the bottom line and didn't see the opportunity for innovation there.
I will say Siri, the way she is now, drove my very non-technical husband to ChatGPT. He can't stand her now. He's done.
They broke up.
That whole this answer was created by ChatGPT. It's just like so cringe. The first rule of conversation design Fight Club is you don't say stuff like that, right? Like, oh my god. But yeah, it is. Go ahead, Manas. This whole application is awesome.
So I just wanted to ask like more questions about like when it comes to voice, there are like there are so many other aspects being added to that, to the situation and the emotional aspects, like the tone, the intentions, the so many feelings might be added. Like, so how do you think that, like, and we have like so many like 50 plus, I think, languages in the world that been spoken, and like they're like also considering different cultures, and what might be polite in one culture would be rude in another culture. So how do you think they're gonna handle this?
Yeah, good question. Tone is different from intent, and tone is hard to get. So when we talk about the technology that's used, again, the audio comes in and it gets converted from audio to text. You lose tone at that point. You just get text. Now, if there's some expletives in there, maybe you can kind of get a sense of what's happening, but you can't. You lose a lot of that in that translation. Intent, you can absolutely. The LLMs are really, really good at intent. Saying something. Like I was when I do my weekly tests of one. I was calling a cleaning service, and I told them, but I was being confused, and I said, "Oh, I was trying to test how they handled way edge cases," and I said, "Oh, I'm trying to change my doctor's appointment. I'm not feeling well." Like, "Oh, I'm sorry you're not feeling well. Would you like a cleaning service to come in and help out while you're not feeling well?" I thought that was the most amazing response I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So that intent, it nailed it. It really nailed it. So I thought that was really good. But you're gonna have to have really voice to voice, and really having the LLM hear the voice and understand the voice to get the tone out of a conversation.
Yeah, and it's an interesting question too, and perhaps you can expand on the question. Are we looking at what do we think needs to be possible or should be possible for a unified kind of voice AI experience around the world, or what is possible today?
Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, like, what is possible today? Is it only that we need to transcribe voice to text right now, or they're working on more like developed models that can understand voice other than like having to transcribe it to text and then generating text back and then voice,
Yeah, it's a really great question. I think Michael has some expertise on this, and obviously, and I think what's interesting about it is when you have something like the pipeline, the sandwich of, you know, speech to text and then text and LLM and then text to speech, that the architecture of the hardware behind that is very specific to that pipeline flow. And to do what the idea of voice to voice, it requires a completely different architecture from the very bottom. And there are companies working on this, but it's not like OpenAI can just switch add a function on to make that work. It has to be built completely differently. So I've seen some of the original engineers from OpenAI started a startup around this, but it is coming, but it is completely different than the technology we're seeing right now.
Voice is not very forgiving. You can't have delays and slowness and things like that. And so until that technology is as solid as what we have today, then you probably won't see a lot of people jumping on board. Now, people like Cameron, Michael, and myself in our back labs, yeah, are we playing with it? For sure. Because we need to be ahead of the game. And so, but today, if I'm or Cameron is deploying or Michael deploying what we expect to be a solid solution, not yet.
Yeah, going for something that has better hardware, better models, lower latency as much as you can. I think that something to kind of ground it in non-technical terms would be to look at, like, what is your measuring stick? Are you measuring the experience of the conversation against a human, or are you measuring it as against something that's better than IVR, right? So when you're looking at it, I've encountered many people in the enterprise space and other spaces as well that have this idea of what they want the voice to sound like, and they really get lost in the weeds of getting the perfect human sounding voice, and then they actually lose a lot of the financial outcomes, the bottom line, the actual booking appointments, that sort of thing, because they're hyper focused on making it sound human. And right now, at this day and age, if you want the person on the phone to sound human, you should use a human.
Yeah, and I don't mind it, like, they sound like human if they say they understand me. I don't mind, like, they're sounding robotic or like very.
What
I just
Michael,
want
what
them to
Michael,
understand.
yeah, what Michael often posts about is, outcomes. Like the road may be bumpy or there may be some speed bumps, but did you get the result, the desired result for the business, for the company? And then you can go back and smooth the road out if you need to.
The thing that I always come back to is when you look at the research, people don't care how you get there. They just want their problem solved, and they don't want to be on the phone for 3 hours.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you don't want to try to trick them either.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
no.
which is
Michael.
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I
Miles.
wanted to ask Mike the same question because he didn't answer, and I know he's an expert.
So international speaking, multiple languages, even if you're just speaking English, different patterns and different accents can affect the understanding of it anyway. And even certain words, like I'm here in Pennsylvania and Conshohocken, I use Conshohocken as my test city, and just to see how the text to speech can handle it. Even when you're in foreign languages, so some of the ones that do say that they handle multiple languages, and maybe it's just English and Spanish, a lot of speakers will go back and forth between languages. So speaking mostly Spanish and throw a couple English words in, okay and sure, and different, and different things. So it's a hard problem to solve. It's a hard problem just in one language, and then every language that you add on top of that, just it becomes exponentially harder. It'll get better, and most of that is at the front end on the speech to text. The other side would be helpful if we can get to a point where the models can actually just stream the audio straight into the model. That will definitely help. That will help with the languages, and it'll certainly help with tone.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I want to ask the audience to put their questions in the comments, and we'll answer them shortly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and Michael, I was going to say like exactly what you said there of like the idea of the voice agent handling other languages, right? But if you look at something like Hindi, for example, in India, there's literal words in English that they don't have in their language. So when they're speaking in the context of the Western world, they are saying English languages, and the model really struggles with that. And even some of the best ones, because it'll recognize, okay, they're speaking Hindi, and then the English words come in, and it's like that's not Hindi, and then it just throws it in the trash, and it's and then it loses the context.
Yep. Yeah.
So, on the point of the voices, the synthetic voices sounding so human right now. I know at one of my last jobs, our client base was elderly, a lot of elderlies, and they just would tell stories about going to the bank and just kind of really just say all these things and had no idea. And our voice wasn't even that good, but it was good enough to fool them. So I'm just, can you just take that topic and sort of run with it? I wrote a paper early on about not anthropomorphizing. Like I don't know. I don't think agents should be named, anything that's going to trick the person.
I think someone's mic is like making noise. Let's fix that first. Let's try.
I think it might be Mike. Oh, yep, it was that paper. Yep, you're good.
Sorry.
So yeah, I just want to speak to the I don't know if it's morality, but the concept around tricking people with voices that are so authentic. Like in conversation design, it's kind of tough to say, welcome to our AI assistant's going to help you, versus our assistant, and then you give it a name that makes it semi-evident that it's not human. Curious, to have each of you kind of talk with the topic there.
Yeah, I'd love to chime in on this first. My partner and I, we typically preach to include that it's an AI voice agent, and we announce it. And I would not be surprised, and see what Michael and Cameron think about this, is in many states, you're required to let people know when you're recording their calls. Some are two-party states, and you have to let them know this call can be recorded for training and quality control. Will there be a requirement to let people know, hey, this is an AI voice agent? I think there probably will be, and I don't think that necessarily would be a bad idea.
Yeah, I think some states are on the forefront in terms of requiring disclosure. Some are, you need to have it on an opt-in form. Someone signing up for something. Others, you have to say it on the phone. Others, you have to say it if asked. So it definitely depends on the jurisdiction. And it goes to the earlier question about legalities. And I think that there's I like the kind of idea around the anthropomorphizing of or making the model feel and sound human, giving it a name, that sort of thing. And I think, and what I'm seeing in the space actually, and I'll give you a great example from the property management space, it was voice AI was put in, and it was essentially for people calling in for the building to reception to ask about things. And they told everyone in a memo that it would be voice AI, got their consent. And then because of the way that they structured it, they didn't have to say on the phone every single time, hey, we're voice AI, by the way, because there was an acknowledgement and a consent, and it was a controlled population. And what the elderly residents specifically reported was that they really liked that they could talk forever on the phone to someone, and they didn't feel like they were wasting anyone's time, because that was a big concern for them, that it took them a while to get to their actual problem, but they felt like they were always wasting the receptionist's time. But now they could talk and talk and talk, and the receptionist just gets the bullet points of what's actually relevant. So I think that in the disclosure world, in the, hey, this is new technology, hey, it's available, hey, you can talk for as long as you want, in that space, there's opportunity for great conversations and having people feel supported with transparency around what you're actually talking to.
Yeah. I like to make a distinction between inbound calling and outbound calling.
Mm.
If it's an inbound call, I one definitely say that yes, this is I'm an AI assistant, but if it sounds really human and they give it a name like Frank or Sue or Joe or whatever, I'm okay with that morally, legally on an inbound call. It's your company. It's how you want to present it. That seems okay to me. What I and in my consulting practice, I'm probably 90% inbound and only about 10% outbound. On the outbound calls is where I'm worried about fraud and transparency, and that like I don't want an outbound voice sounding like President Obama. That kind of blurring of the lines seems very scary, morally, not even ambiguous, like morally just bad. So I think hopefully maybe there'll be some regulation around outbound calls and the use of AI, and that you have to state it up front and the whole thing. But we'll see. So for me, it's more of an issue of inbound versus outbound. The other thing I don't really, it's just a preference. I don't like when they have like office sounds behind an AI. I'm like, you're just an AI. I know there's not a whole office of AI things there all making noise. Can we cut out the office noise?
Yeah.
We, Michael, we're working on one right now that's in light of that background noise, where I told Jody, I was like, I want to have a club be the background where there's thumping music in the background, like, yeah, I can help you, and it's like,
Okay.
like somebody, remote workers, and somebody's in a club taking a call, right? And it's thumping music in the back. Sorry, I can't hear you, and just for demo purposes, right? Because it tells people, it shows people what the capabilities are.
I saw a Chinese restaurant, like order taker, and it had the really good Chinese restaurant, like wok noises in the background and cooking. And I
That's
appreciated
cool.
that. I thought it was really cool, really. But after working with the elderly community, I really worry about them feeling tricked. Right. So I know your audience. I also think Michael said inbound versus outbound, but I always say to everybody, there's enterprise and then there's everything else. And I think there's big differences. And it's interesting that Cameron and Mike, you guys seem to be, Mike, I think maybe you're both, but Cameron, you're like really an enterprise guy, and Bill, you're a small business guy. I'm curious, like when I speak to designers and say, go play with Vappy or go play with retail. But I tell them, listen, that's not preparing you for enterprise, really. Maybe a little foundational knowledge, but the builds are so different. Can you speak a little bit to those differences, and for people trying to figure out if this is their career pivot, what should they be paying attention to?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and I think that there's, I would say, two qualifiers on that. It would be, are you going into an organization that has already chosen a platform based on a flashy demo and they're locked into a multi-year contract and they're looking for support because it's not working? Or are they looking into the technology and they're looking for you or someone else to help them make that decision? Because I've seen both. And sometimes you get an organization that really doesn't have anyone that's in charge of the outcome of the technology decisions. There's a lot of people buying technology, but no one that's really on the hook if something doesn't go well. And when there's no one on the hook, no one's really maintaining it and making sure it's working to its full extent. So then you have an example that I've shared before, that you have an enthusiastic operations manager who's pretty savvy with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT tells him, you can absolutely do voice AI, no problem at all. Here's the stack you want to use, and that's the whole thing. And then so he puts it all together, gets amazing results, allegedly, fires a 20-person contact center, and then brings an expert in, and we find out that the transfer rate, and for everyone listening, it's essentially that it was outbound dialing to their existing customers, and it was just assessing, hey, are you at this stage in your journey? Do you want to talk to a human salesperson? If yes, transfer. Unfortunately, it was transferring robo-screeners and voicemails. So it was doing a 67% successful transfer rate. The humans only ever did 15% at their best. The real number was under 8%. So this is something where real operational decisions are made based on the encouragement of, ChatGPT or Claude. And I think that's a whole nother discussion, but I think keeping the critical decision-making in the human hands is really important. But also when you're going into an organization, if you have a greenfield and essentially it's brand new and you can use whatever you want to use to build it, then you're in a much better position.
So to respond to Cameron and then to answer Aaron real quick. Yeah. So, somebody comes in and Claude, how do I do voice AI? And you do it and you test it and just incredible results and you move forward. And it's incredible results because you don't know what you don't know. And so you only test the happy path. Hi, I need to change my appointment. I mean, that just never happens on a call, like we've already talked about. Elderly, I was talking to my son the other day, and the AI is like, what are we talking about? Can we get back on track? So those are the things where they just don't test anything but this just straightforward happy path, and that works great. Let's fire everybody, and now we can move on. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
It's one of my biggest peeves, honestly, is the lack of monitoring and optimization. And it's my favorite type of work.
Mine too.
Optimization is the most fun work. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a whole page of. I'm up to about a dozen different ways and not trick it, but kind of test those edges, those mid-call turn. Like you're talking about an appointment, like, I also need, anyway. Back to your original question, the VAPI and bland of retail, it's a great way to start. You see what the possibilities are, and you see kind of where the pitfalls are. Like I still remember my very, very, very first VAPI app. I just wanted name, phone number, and address. Just collect that information. That's it. And so I told it to do that, and sometimes it would, and sometimes it wouldn't. And I'm like, okay, fine. Get the name. Don't move on until you get the name. Get the address. Don't move on until you get the address. But then it felt like completely disjointed. So I needed something kind of in the middle. So it was a good place to start to figure out what some of the capabilities are, what a tool call is, what a prompt is, that kind of stuff. So if you're looking to just get started and see what's kind of out there, not a bad way to start. Not a bad way to start.
Yeah, that's a great point, Michael. And it's interesting too, because there's so many different, you could say, flavors of voice AI, right?
Yeah.
And so many different flavors of builders. And I think that you kind of hit something really, really important there. And it's around like AI fluency, and it's around voice AI fluency and understanding how these platforms work, understanding that when you do an action on the back end, there's an impact on the telephone, and just kind of experimenting with that. And then because come 5 years from now, we don't know which of these platforms are still going to be around. So rather than necessarily attaching yourself to one particular platform, what I recommend if you're just starting out is play around with them and see which one do you like the best, and then put some sort of live portfolio piece out for, hey, I built an agent on this platform. This is why I did this platform. This is why I like it. And then it shows that you've kind of had the critical thinking to put it together yourself and recognize that this platform may not be here in the future, but because you have the experience and you know how to play around with it and you're a fast learner in that area, then you can learn whatever your platform agnostic, so to speak.
Well, one of the things that I would recommend to leaders is who's choosing the path? Who in your organization is choosing the path? Is it bottom up or is it top down? And I had a client recently who was getting a lot of bottom up push, and they had like 28 locations and 5 different solutions, right? And these department heads were all choosing their own product. And so, I met with the leadership and I'm like, look, do you really want to support 5 AI voice solutions? Or do we want to pick the best one and make it better and then disperse it from top down? And so, choosing is, it has to be done by not an individual. I firmly believe committee is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
I was going to ask that question, Bill, because I've come on to these enterprise projects that were put together by leadership with zero experience in the space. And I would really love to know if you had 3 things to tell, say, a VP who's been told, we need an IVR to AI project. Because I feel like they get seduced in the sales meetings and choose the wrong platforms all the time. They just believe what they see, which I don't understand. 3 from each of you, 3 bullet points to upper leadership who has been tasked with starting one of these projects. What are the 3 most important things that they need to worry about in putting together a project like this from zero?
Yeah, I'd love to go first on this one. Trusted advisors, right? Who have you worked with in the
Hire us.
past?
Yeah.
What about the guy that is already handling your phone system that has an AI solution for you? I mean, you already know, like, and trust him. Why not give him a shot? So that's definitely looking not just at the shiny objects, but looking at the known products. Look broadly, but focus quickly, and know that, the big thing on social media right now by Cameron, Michael, and myself probably have all done posts about this, and probably Anne. What's a demo worth? A demo's a demo. A demo's made to. As a matter of fact, we're redoing a bunch of our in-house demos right now.
A demo has club music in the background, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that one and the other agent that I built early on, which was great for marketing, was Angry Mary. Angry Mary answered the phone, and she was snippy, and I mean, it was perfect, and people loved it. And I'm like, see, that's what you can do. Anyway, I think look broad, but focus quickly, and know that demos are demos.
Yeah, that's great. No one working in a company. So one of my first consulting gigs was a biotech company, and I knew the CEO, and she came to me and she's like, people are looking to me for our AI strategy. And that's early on where I had a post about a chief AI officer. And I think that's going to become more and more common, where the CTO is about tools and the chief AI officer is, okay, how do we strategically and top down deploy AI across the company? But almost no one has that today. So you really, really need to go outside the business, find these trusted advisors, find the people who work with this day in and day out. It's going to save you so much time, so much energy. You're not going to fire your entire tech support staff day one after one happy demo. That's really the biggest thing. 2, like when I do my Behind the Call series, for the most part, all these providers have either a free demo or a free trial account. You can go on and try it. But again, you've got to try outside the happy path. You have to try when things break, when the caller doesn't know what they're doing. And again, a lot of people, you just don't know what you don't know. So it would be hard. It would be very daunting if I were in a company today without this expertise. It would be daunting to have that task.
Oh, but it's happening, and I could tell in the job interviews too that it's happening. Okay, Cameron, do you want to take that one? Top 3 most important things. I do love hire a consultant before you even start. It will save you so much in the end. So much money. I mean, getting in bed with the wrong platform and having the wrong team. I mean, you're hemorrhaging money at that point that you could have spent a fraction of for a consultant from the get-go. So go ahead, Cameron. What's your top 3?
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because the question itself kind of reveals a problem, and it's something that Michael touched on, and it's really that there's no effective technical leadership in the organization. There's no technical leadership at an executive level. And I'm not talking about a technical director or technical ops manager or anything like that, like someone who's actually in charge of the decisions and responsible for the outcomes. And I think that it stems from, if we look at a lot of these larger organizations and even older small businesses, if we're looking at how things used to run, is a CFO was typically in charge of the technology. And technology was a line item, because for a long time, for most of our history, technology was a utility. It wasn't something that could directly impact ROI or directly impact top line and bottom line revenue. So most organizations are still kind of following this org chart structure of the CFO is in charge of budget that goes to technology, because if we put too much money into technology, we're hemorrhaging money on a utility, which didn't make sense, but that mentality still exists. So I would say the question within a question, so to speak, is if you have a VP that's not dedicated to technology and doesn't have that technology background, then they need someone who does. And sometimes it looks like, in my case, it would be a fractional CTO, which would come in for the duration of that project and own the outcomes of the decision making, so that you have someone that you trust. It is similar to a consultant, but they're coming in and they're actually working with the team, making sure you have the right people to maintain it after the exit of the fractional CTO. But then you're able to really own the decisions and own the outcomes, so that you're not, as a VP, you're finding someone, hey, I'm going to bring you in, you're going to make these decisions, and I can trust you to do that, rather than taking on the shiny vendor demo, or at the risk of going to people in the organization that might be great builders and might be great at the lower level. They're not going to have the same outcome mindset of the entire company in mind. It's going to be that, like Bill was saying, it's going to be that bottom up. And I think that if you do it right and you get the right leadership in place to make those decisions, then you can end up with a happy story for your organization, similar to what happened with IKEA with their chatbots.
Yeah, the IKEA story is a feel-good story, but I've twice tried to propose programs like what IKEA did, and no interest. The head count is all about the head count in some places, for sure.
For sure. Well, I think especially when we're looking at the anticipated market downturn in 2027, the trend that I'm seeing among leadership is they want to bring in as much AI fast as possible, let go of people, and they almost acknowledge in some places that come the end of next year, they'll have to admit a mistake, that they went too far in on voice AI, and then bring people back or hire new people. But
we've seen
it's a mistake that they're willing to make to survive a crash of some sort.
Gotcha. Manaz, do you want to do questions from the audience?
We don't have any questions from the audience, mostly comments about the conversation. Yeah, but I have a question for you. So for all of you, so 2 years from now, do you think voice AI and agentic, like voice agents, would look like more a feature that that are like bolted into existing software, or it's a new default interface that like replaces like most of the apps and use cases?
Well, my 2 cents is omnimodal design. So I'll just say that. I think the perfect modal at the perfect moment should be the goal for the future. But let's see what the voice guys have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think the three of us hope that it's very, very prevalent in the marketplace. I think that it's moving so fast. We're trying to solve solutions for legacy equipment. We didn't even really touch. I mean, Cameron touched on hardware a little bit, but the AI hardware. But I'm talking about the hardware. How do we get to the voice AI, right? The phone systems, right? And so there's not a standard phone system out there. And so, some of those, the big players have developed their own as, a way to add revenue, not necessarily as an AI voice solution. So it'll be interesting to see what the future holds in the next couple years for the smaller players that are there to be nimble and be able to turn on a dime.
Interesting.
Yeah. I would say meet your customers where they are. I don't think voice AI will become the default interface. If the customer's on your website, give them two options: a voice chat, a WebRTC voice chat, and a AI-powered text chat. I think AI responses are going to become the default. So AI chat, AI voice, AI email. So I have an email that I can interact with that's LLM driven. But I think you still want to meet your customers where they are. Not everyone can talk. I mean, I'm on a subway or in a public setting. I don't want to talk. So meet your customers where they are. But I think the LLM behind the scenes is going to become the default, whether it's voice or chat or email or whatever.
Thanks. Cameron?
Yeah. 2 years from now, it's interesting. It's a relatively short timeline, and I anticipate that in the relative short term, and this is something that we saw in the .com boom too, is that there is going to be somewhat of a cultural backlash against AI. And I think that it's going to come in the form of someone will know someone, a neighbor, a cousin, an uncle, or whoever, someone that has lost a job because of an AI rollout. And I think that we're going to experience in the relative short term, and that's 2 years is relatively short, we're going to see the equivalent of hammering number one to get through the menu to get past AI to talk to a human. And I think if we're looking maybe 5 years into the future, I think that voice AI will be more standard rolled out. I also think that at a certain level of business, like luxury goods, for example, or luxury experiences, I don't think they'll necessarily ever use voice AI. And I think they'll lean more on the human experience and using some elements of the technology to augment the human that's on the phone, so that you can get a human that doesn't maybe have 10 years of experience in an industry, but can speak like they do and can have every piece of information that they need on that call to support the person that's calling in. But I think that what we haven't experienced yet is not enough people know about voice AI or AI to the level that it's hit that tipping point where it's a household name, so to speak. And because that hasn't happened yet, we haven't experienced any kind of a acceptance or rejection of the technology. So I think over time, everything kind of gets accepted, and that's what happens, but we haven't reached that tipping point yet. And that's what I'm watching in terms of being prepared for and making sure that even if you're implementing voice AI, you have a human team as a backup, because we don't know what might happen culturally.
I think, Cameron, that goes back to the same thing I said earlier. Push from the bottom or push from the top. So are the consumers going to drive this, or is management and leadership going to drive this into the future? And going back even further, what I said, think about the money. And so while people love to post that AI is not going to take jobs, it's going to take jobs. And everybody's just afraid to say that. And the leadership looks at these decisions and they look at the dollars. And if you think that's not the case, then
that's why they're so attached to the wrong metrics, which we could do a whole other show about the mistakes leadership makes around their metrics in this space.
Yeah.
One real quick response is I think as people have more positive responses to AI, and especially in support, I think that will help to drive. I know Andy talked about in one of your videos an incredibly positive AI interaction you had in the wild. About a year ago, I had an amazing AI interaction in the wild, just trying to return a package. It was great. I didn't have to wait on hold. It answered immediately. It asked me a couple questions, and then it was done. Within 24 hours, I had my refund. That was pretty amazing. So I think as people have more of these positive interactions, not waiting on hold forever, not having to explain and re-explain and enter your customer ID 3 times as you get to 3 different people, I think that will help to drive adoption as well.
Right. It just comes to people just want their problem solved. They don't care how you're doing it. Just get it done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, the time is up, but I've got this last questions from one of our audiences. So, like, it's time for you to promote anything you want to promote, any upcoming events, anything you would like to say about your companies. Like, just go for it.
Well,
Yeah.
to address, Sean Michael's question here, in terms of, what we all do, I think it's a great question. Sean wants to know if we're gainfully employed or we're just sitting here on a Saturday, doing nothing. But, I mean, it's a great question, and it does lean into kind of talking about what we each do and what that looks like. But I would say that for me personally, I work in the leadership positions in a variety of different organizations in different industries, and I help them make those technical decisions. Sometimes that has to do with voice AI. Sometimes that has to do with the basic data security, de-risking fundamentals that need to happen before you implement any kind of AI on top of it. But that's kind of my piece in terms of what I do and what's necessary, from my opinion.
Michael?
Thanks.
So I am a completely consulting freelance, and on the voice AI side, there's one side which is existing voice companies trying to implement AI and helping them on the AI side of things, and then on the other side, the kind of native voice AI companies not really knowing how the telephony side works. How do you go out and get 1,000 phone numbers? How do you port a phone number? And then helping them with the AI and the prompt and everything on that side as well. So that's mostly what I'm working with today. A little bit of working with individual companies to implement a voice AI solution as well.
It's really a great triangle of guests here. You've got the enterprise, you've got Michael, and you've got myself, and we would potentially be one of Michael's clients, but we built a platform for those voice providers. My background and my co-founder's background is 30 years in telecom. So we came at AI from probably the same place that Michael's came from, which is the phone side. And we drank from the fire hose to learn the voice AI side, right, over the last 3-4 years. And so we built a platform for cloud and telecom providers, trusted advisors, if they want to be able to add voice for their clients, they contact us. We white label and sell a platform, a SaaS solution for them.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. And you want to make the
Do
conclusion?
I want to answer? Sure. So I do a mix. I'll take a contract if it's someplace interesting or unusual. But I do mostly consulting around the conversation design, which is the work that happens before it even gets to these guys. Right. So that's my happy place. And I love doing both. I like things to change often, which is why I love all this AI stuff, because I love the chaos of it all. It's not for everybody.
Cool.
So real quick, where can we find you guys? LinkedIn, what's the best way to get in touch if we need to get in touch?
I think all three of us are pretty prevalent on LinkedIn because we comment on each other's posts all the time, which is really cool because it helps drive drives the algorithm. But it's good to comment on people that know what they're doing. And both of these guys are leaders in the field, and I love their posts and I love engaging on them.
Same.
Yeah, when my girlfriend asks how, what'd you do today? It's just working at the LinkedIn factory.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, comment on a post, disagree or send us a direct message, of course. And I would say for me personally, if you are social shy, you can reach me at brasshelm.com, and you can send me an email if you're not a social butterfly like the three of us. Or the five of us, really. But yeah, I would say LinkedIn primary. It's where all the good conversations are happening around this and everything else. And I'd leave it at that.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Last of us, I want to ask Sorry, Anne, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I was just going to say
I want to.
the reason we had this panel was because of their banter, like, and it was just like expert, and not influencer or BS. And there is a big difference, and these guys are real experts. Go ahead, Manal. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, just follow Swarm Community on YouTube and follow DESIGNathon on all the podcast apps out there. We are on Amazon, Apple Music, Spotify, Castbox, everything. Just follow us and support us. Yeah.
Sorry, Manal. I do that. Yeah. I'm so sorry.
No.
Mike's website. I put Voice of AI out there to help people learn. And what Mike has out there is just a behemoth. Mike, what's the website?
AI Contio, CONTIO. It's means meeting place in Latin. AIContio.com.
Yeah,
it's been building it for a while. It's hopefully it's a great resource. It's free. I've got prompts up there. I've got all my behind the call reviews. Thank you.
It is great, and it is free. All right. So I think we can wrap there unless anybody else has anything they want to put out into the world real quick.
Well, just a precursor to having any kind of expertise in voice AI is having some sort of a beard, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I'll work on it. I am Italian.
Okay.
The length and the color also come into play.
Yeah, so I have some more learning to do, is what you're saying.
I wasn't gonna say that. You being a young buck, you're not gonna be going after my Santa job this December.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I just had my first daughter 7 months ago, so I assume a few years tack onto that, and I'll have some white hair to show.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah. It's coming. Thank you guys so much. This was great.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Cameron. Good seeing you guys.
Yeah, you too.